Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it.
So they found smoking, for example, that decreased your life by 10 years, but it wasn't the biggest one. The biggest one was just the...
Okay, let me interrupt that. Smoking cigarettes or cigars? Because people always feel that cigars is better.
Yeah. So they just looked at smoking in general. And as we know, like everything has a dose dependency to it. So I would say if you looked at the difference in cigarettes and cigars, it's really going to come down to how much of that tobacco smoke you're inhaling.
Right. Okay, all right. So keep going. All right.
But the impressive thing to me was that, like, even something like smoking that we know takes a decade off your life, this one thing had a bigger impact, and it was the strength of your social relationships. And we don't focus on that much. It's the connection that we have with others. And so people always want to talk about what supplements and what cutting edge medications and things, but I tell people, like, if you're focusing on those things and you're not focusing on the strength of your social relationships and your connection.
Isn't that the sweetest sound? That's the sound of another sale or another dollar hitting your Shopify e-commerce store. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform, all lowercase.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Dr. Matthew Dawson, founder and CEO of Wild Health. And Dr. Dawson and I are going to be talking today on the topic epigenetics, the new science that's rewiring our DNA destiny. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you, Myrna. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. Wow. Listen, I've been dealing with your company now for over a year. I am having health coaching. I'm seeing the doctor at Wild Health, and I've had several true diagnostic tests. In fact, I pulled one up on my computer just so if I want to reference it while we're having a conversation. So I love your work, love your company. So, well, I'm excited to introduce you to my listeners. All right. So let me give you guys a brief introduction. Dr. Matthew Dawson, as I said, is the founder and CEO of Wild Health, a genomics-based precision medicine company, and the CEO of True Diagnostics, an epigenetics testing lab. He has authored 2 textbooks, published over 24 studies, lectured in over 20 countries, and won national awards for education and innovation. His passion is unlocking the secrets of the genome and the epigenome and using them to optimize health and maximize health span. He lives in the woods with his wife, 4 children, and 2 dogs. Wonderful life. I wish I could trade places with you. Yes, awesome. All right, Matthew. So as we get started, I know that epigenetics has been around now. It's a new science, but a whole bunch of people are talking about it. But for our listeners that maybe is the first time I've heard of it, what is epigenetics and how is it different from genetics?
Yeah, great question. So Wild Health, that you already mentioned, they're a genomics-based precision medicine company. So every patient, they sequence your DNA, look at all the advantages, disadvantages you have, plus a lot of other tests as well to come up with a plan of how to optimize you. So everyone understands genetics usually. That's the DNA code that you're born with, and that doesn't change. I think what people don't realize as much is your DNA is not your destiny. Your DNA accounts for about 20% of your health outcome. The other 80% are epigenetics. It's how you express those genes. So everything that you do, what you eat, what you're exposed to, your stress levels, how you sleep, your exercise, all of those things are constantly turning on and off your genes, turning up and down each gene, how you express it. And so that's the other 80% that determines our health outcome, what we do and how we express our genes. And just in the last several years have we been finally able to actually measure those epigenetics down to the CPG level to look at actual gene expression. So we can determine a lot by genetics, but even more with epigenetics.
Wow. Wow. So that's new because I always thought it was a 50-50 thing. Now you're saying it's only 20%. Wow. So that's important because a lot of times, let's talk about whenever you go to the doctor, they're always asking you for your history of your family members, who's had cancer, who's had, like right now, I've got glaucoma and my mom has it, those type of things. So what you're saying is that even though your parents might have heart disease and cancer and maybe glaucoma and things like that, 80% we have the ability to manipulate about 80% of that. It's not a guarantee that you're gonna get these things. So what can we do with that 80%?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very concrete example. My grandmother passed away from Alzheimer's disease. She had dementia. It's a really difficult disease if you've ever had a family member that goes through that. And shortly after she passed away, my mother found out she had the ApoE4 gene. So I was just starting Wild Health at that time, a genomics-based company, and so we looked at her DNA and found out she had the ApoE4 gene. Um, Traditional medicine and traditional physicians in the past have kind of shrugged their shoulders and been like, okay, you have this gene. It makes you 200 to 300% more likely to get Alzheimer's disease. So what are you going to do? You've got this gene. Maybe you should get your affairs in order more quickly. Like you're probably just going to get this. That's not the case. So what we did with my mother, for example, when we found this out, what I told her is I said, Mom, this is good news because we know you have this now and we can do something about it and we're going to do something about it. So we designed a very personalized program for her. We're looking at all of her genetics, not just that one gene, her blood tests, phenotypic data. We can pull wearable data as well, and a very personalized plan as to what she should eat, how she should exercise, how we're going to optimize her sleep, what supplements will or won't work, what medications would or won't work. And we put her on this very personalized plan. In 3 months, she lost 40 pounds, reversed her insulin resistance, and told me that she felt 20 years younger. And when she said that, like that she felt 20 years younger, I had the thought like, okay, chronologically, you're 3 months older, but really, if you feel and perform like you're 20 did 20 years ago, and you're going to probably live 15 to 20 more years, like you kind of are biologically 20 years younger. So those choices she made and that very personalized plan we made a big difference for her, and it's going to have a massive impact on whether she gets dementia and how long she lives.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's great. I've heard about this AP4 gene in Dr. Peter Attia's book on longevity. He talked about that. And yeah, it's actually good to know that when they test for that. So that's amazing. But yeah, like I said, I have had your reporting and it's pretty detailed. And I'm glad you mentioned supplements and eating. So what I mean, supplements. And so how is supplements helping us with or epigenome?
Yeah.
How is that helping us?
Yeah. So to get specific, like I'll use my mother as the example again. When it comes to food, because we try to solve as many problems with food as we can before we go to supplements. So like with her, I'll talk about both food and supplements.
Mhm.
For her, what our algorithms will kind of look at is like based on all these genetics and blood work, what is the perfect food for her? So she had, for example, she did have this ApoE4 gene, but she also, when it comes to nutrition, she had a FADS2 polymorphism, meaning she needs more active omega-3. She had a collagen 5A1, meaning she needs more collagen protein. She had a BCMO, meaning she needs more vitamin A. She had a VDR SNP, meaning she needs more vitamin D. So when we take all of those together, we certainly could supplement with omega-3s, vitamin D, vitamin A, collagen protein. We could do that. But the algorithm, what it came up with is like, hey, the world's perfect food for you, Mom, is a sardine because it has all these really clean omega-3s, the collagen protein, the skin and the bones, the vitamin D and A, and all the organs. So that's like the perfect food for her. So if she'll eat that, great. Like she's solving multiple problems at once. Now, if she hates sardines and won't eat that, we'll come up with other foods. But eventually, if there aren't foods that she likes and we keep testing her blood levels and those things are off because she has this genetic extra need for them, then sure, we can supplement with those as well. We could put her on fish oil. We could put her on collagen, protein, and vitamin A and vitamin D as well. So that's how we come up with, we have first identify what are the holes, what do we need more of based on our genetics, and then how do we solve for that. And then when it comes to food as well, it's not just about plugging those holes, but we also identify kryptonite foods. So she had an SH2B3, which means that wheat and gluten are very inflammatory for her. And she had CF6, so meaning dairy is very inflammatory. So we also kind of eliminated those foods for her as well, and she started feeling a lot better.
Wow, that's great. Well, I just had my new report about a week ago. So when I talk to the doctor, I will ask him to, go through it like you just did. Because all I saw is hundreds of different supplements, and because I didn't understand what it really meant, so I had to go over that with the doctor. So that's amazing. Now, you just mentioned something about biological age and chronological age. It's not my new test, but the test that I did before, um, talked about your telomere lengths, and the telomere lengths is supposed to indicate your biological age. You want to talk about that? Because mine was like 30 years younger. I had like the top, the top percentage, 90%, 90 percentile for my telomere lengths, but because um uh, I do the things, I walk, I meditate, I take supplements, I do the things, and I think walking is one of the top things that you can do for biological age, right? So let's talk about that. What can we do as far as
Yeah.
helping our biological age? Correct.
So yeah, so I think you had the True Diagnostic test, the kind of True Age test, and one of the things that the True Age test used to report on was an estimation of telomere length. Now we used to think that that was useful and helpful. To be honest, the science around that, there are a lot of issues with telomere length relating to fluctuation over time, really kind of poor predictive power when it comes to aging things. There's tissue specific differences. So it's not the best measurement now. So I'll tell you what the best measurement is now, and then we can get into kind of what to do about it. The best measurements for biologic age and kind of predicting how long you'll live and your risk of morbidity and mortality is the epigenetic clocks. So looking at specifically gene expression, like we talked about, look at about 1 million specific gene sites, how much each one is turned up and turned down. And from that, we can derive your biologic age. And even more importantly, your pace of aging. So for a couple of years ago, I didn't really put much stock in biologic age tests at all. I didn't think they were really validated well enough, but there's several new ones that are really good. So Harvard has one called the Omic Image that they developed. That's the best predictor for how much longer you're going to live. Yale has one called the Symphony Age, which tells you different organ systems age, which is great because we age in a heterogeneous way and are finding what the weakest link is, whether our brain's aging faster than our liver or what is helpful. And then my favorite is the PACE test. So this was a clock developed by Duke, and what it tells you is your pace of aging. Now, the reason I like this one better is because it's very sensitive to change, meaning if you get pregnant, for example, that's a physiologic stress. Your rate of aging goes up by 20%. If you get COVID, have a car accident, have hip surgery, your rate of aging goes up, but it comes back down after you get over those things. So this is like a speedometer for your aging. And it allows us to do interventions to test and see what are going to decrease your rate of aging the most. So if you wanted to try a different diet, for example, you're like, I wonder if a keto versus a vegan versus a Mediterranean diet would be better for me. You can try them and see how it affects your pace of aging. Stanford did a twin study. And in this twin study, they They switched the twins back and forth between the vegan and omnivore diet and then measured a bunch of things. But one of the things they measured was this pace of aging. And in just 8 weeks with a dietary change like that, you can see differences in your rate of aging. So you could try different diets, find out which one decreases your rate of aging. Then you could try different supplements, or you could try different medications. Like some people are very excited about rapamycin or canagliflozin or some medications. But you can start layering these interventions, finding the ones that decrease your rate of aging the most. And that's how that rate of aging is a really great integrator for your health in general. And so that's the one that I suggest people use the most, is this pace of aging developed by Duke. And it's reported in the True Age test that you took.
Wow, that's amazing. For the time that I've been with your company, I've been just focusing on weight loss. How silly. I'm wasting all this good technology on epigenetics and just concentrating on weight loss. So I had to switch my focus, because I would love, the pace of aging is very important, because I see it. I've been married for about 20 years, and I see that my rate of aging, physically, is so much slower than my husband, who, drinks and stuff. So, I would love to be able to get that information on the pace of aging, because, I was even speaking to my interview that's coming out this week. I was talking to a woman regarding, no, sorry, that was one. I was also talking about stem cells. And, my guest made the comment that if we were to slow aging down by 7 years, then 50% of the chronic illness would be eradicated, because age and chronic illness goes together.
I've been an entrepreneur since the early 90s, even winning the Entrepreneur of the Year award. But when I first thought of starting my business, I had the passion and the vision, but zero clue where to start when it came to selling online. This is where Shopify can help. Shopify helps you set up your digital storefront. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Mattel and Drew House to brands just getting started. Whether you're selling physical products, digital downloads, or services, Shopify has everything you need to launch, manage, and scale your business. Shopify is also packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify helps you transform your business with expertise in everything from managing inventory to processing returns. So, if you're ready to sell, you're ready to Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/transform. Go to shopify.com/transform.
Let me tell you about a cellular service that's saving me money every single month, and that is Mint Mobile. I switched to Mint Mobile a few months ago, and honestly, I wish I'd done it sooner. But we were locked into a plan paying over $100 per month. With Mint Mobile, you get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. Yeah, you heard that right. With unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data on the nation's largest 5G network. So, this summer, say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. For a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling, literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank.
Get this new customer offer in your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/transform. That's mintmobile.com/transform. Note, upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
So slowing down your rate of aging is a beautiful thing because we're not even, and again, we're talking about this new word, health span, and not, lifespan, because we want to be healthy. So yeah, can you talk about that for a minute? So now that, let's say that you get this test and you see that, your rate of aging is higher than it should be. So what is a perfect way to age? Like, I'm looking at you right now and you look pretty young. And I'm pretty sure you look better than your age, because you have 4 kids and all that. So what can we do to slow down our rate of aging?
Yeah, I'm actually 96. So yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for saying I look a little younger than that. So, no, I'm just kidding. Um, so as you mentioned, age is the number one risk factor for pretty much every chronic disease. If you look at like the top killers of Americans, where there's cardiovascular disease and dementia and diabetes and all of these things, age is the number one risk factor. So by slowing that down, it's not just I mean, it's great to look young, but it's not a vanity thing. It's really a health thing. It's a health span. The more you can slow that aging down, the better. So your question is like, what can we do to slow it down? It's the things that we know and think about. And so we've done a lot of studies on this. Yale did a study looking at 51 different interventional trials as to what things make the biggest difference in lowering your rate of aging. And there's things that we know. Nutrition plays a big impact. Exercise makes a big difference. Sleep, optimizing for sleep makes a big difference. The things that we know we shouldn't do, like smoking and alcohol. Stress is one that I think people are starting to understand now, but it makes such a big impact on our aging.
Yeah.
The number one, which I always, anytime I'm talking about aging, I want to make sure I talk about this with people, because the best study ever on this was Harvard did a study called the Healthy Aging Study. It's over 80 years, 1,000 people in it, and they looked at what is the number one thing that impacts not just health, but also happiness, which is cool. There's a health span. I don't know how you don't study happiness if you're talking about health with someone. It's an important factor. But the number one thing surprised people. So they found smoking, for example, that decreased your life by 10 years, but it wasn't the biggest one. The biggest one was just the
Okay, let me interrupt that. Smoking cigarettes or cigars? Because people always feel that cigars is better.
yeah, yeah. So they just looked at smoking in general, and as we know, like everything has a dose dependency to it. So I would say if you looked at the difference in cigarettes and cigars, it's really going to come down to how much of that tobacco smoke you're inhaling.
Inhaling, right. Okay, all right. So keep going. All right.
But the impressive thing to me was that, like, even something like smoking that we know takes a decade off your life, this one thing had a bigger impact, and it was the strength of your social relationships. And we don't focus on that much. It's the connection that we have with others. And so people always want to talk about what supplements and what cutting edge medications and things, but I tell people, like, if you're focusing on those things and you're not focusing on the strength of your social relationships and your connection with others, like you're missing the point. And when I say connection too, I try to go a little further and say it's connection not just with others, but it's also a connection with yourself, a connection with your food, a connection with your body, a connection to maybe a higher power or something bigger than you as well. Those things make a tremendous difference when it comes to your health span and happiness.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Yes, again, this is like life school for me. So I'm always in good conversations and I read a lot of books, and I know that social interactions is one of the 5 or something things that they said that makes a complete person. Um But to make it number one, that is amazing, because what do we have now in this world? We have a lot of lonely people that have maybe a million followers, but like maybe one or two people that they're really connected to. Because when you're talking about connection, you're not talking about acquaintances. You're talking about, I mean, I think you're talking about deep connections where you can share like a level 5 kind of friendship. And yeah, connection with God or connection with a higher power, spirituality has always been important, because it says that you are, the other day I was doing a meditation, and I did the meditation where, because I'm aware now that I am not separate from the universe, that I'm connected to everything. So when I did this meditation, I was actually, thinking with rain, which I love, and I kind of like got into the space where I am the rain kind of thing. So I understand the connection. You live in the woods, so you're connecting to nature, and I'm assuming that's why you're living in the woods, because it's nature and it's beautiful. So yeah, the connection where you're expansive, for sure. It helps with your mental health, helps with your health span, helps with you being. I just started reading this book today about the subconscious, how you're connecting your subconscious to the world and all that. So that is great. I mean, if you guys don't take anything else from this conversation with Dr. Dawson, is that connection to a higher power, connection to yourself, or connection to friends. That's amazing. So that's number one, you're saying. So, and then exercise. Let's talk about walking for a minute, because I think that's where my superpowers are. I walk every day for about an hour in the sunshine, because I live in Florida. So how does that
Yeah.
work?
And I'm excited to answer that, but you hit on so many good things. I just want to double click on a couple of those and switch them, because I'm always thinking about the science, and what does the science say about certain things as well. So, for example, y- we talked about the relationship. So there's interesting data on married couples, because you're talking about the really tight relationship. Married people tend to live 7 to 10 years longer
Yeah.
than unmarried. I think the funny thing about that statistic is when they look at men get about 8 to 10 extra years. Women only get about 4 to 7 extra years longer when they're married to a man. So it's, and in my experience, that makes sense. How good.
Right.
Okay. With spirituality, like there are studies showing that spirituality and religious involvement are linked to increases anywhere, some studies 4 years up to 14 years difference. And there was a really big meta-analysis that showed 30 to 35% reduced risk of death of people who are attending religious services. And whether it has to do with the connection to the higher power or the connection to the people that are there, uh, I don't know. But it makes a difference. And then nature, like you mentioned, nature. I live in the woods, so there's a lot of studies out of Japan on this, and they found that that exposure to green spaces reduces mortality by 12 to 20%, adding several years to your life expectancy. So you specifically mentioned kind of the going for walks in nature, and just living closer to green areas, like reduced death. So when I talk to people about exercise, I think walking is a great thing to do. I always like to tell people, number one thing when it comes to exercise, like the most important thing to do is find something you love doing, so that you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it forever. And then once you find that, if you can weave that into some of these other things we're talking about, like walking outside in the sunshine, like you said, or even better, walking with someone who you care about outside in the sun, like those types of things, you really start to.
Connection thing. Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Yeah. I frequently, we live in the woods. We have like lots of trails. And so a lot of times we'll start the day. I'll have the team over from the company, and we'll go rucking together. So like we're wearing
I
backpacks.
was just going to talk about rocking. We're connected already spiritually.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And what's great about that is different people can wear different amount of weight. So you have different people with different abilities are still together, We'll sometimes forage while we're out there, so pick different foods and things. So we're connecting to each other, connecting to our bodies, connecting to nature, connecting to our food, and you can stack these things and really start to get really big benefits for your health span.
That's great. Yeah, like my health coach from Wild Health suggested that I put weights and have a backpack. And I know about the rucking term from Dr. Peter Attia's book, because he talks about rucking and climbing, hiking with the rucking up hills and all that. So my park is just flat, but I love walking. I love communing with the trees. I love the sunshine. And I know that I'm supposed to go to the gym, and I just, even though I like going to the gym, I like walking better. So a lot of times in the days that I exercise 6 days a week. So when the days, my perfect schedule is 2 days a week at the gym and 4 days walking. And I would get up in the morning and I would say, I don't feel like going to the gym. I'm going to go walking. So a lot of times I switch it out. So what my health coach was saying, you can combine the weights by putting the rucking thing. And I haven't started it yet. I got a nice big rock. I just have to go and buy the backpack to put it in. But yeah, so is that why you do the weights, is the rucking, because of muscle building, as well as what's the benefits of rucking, by the way? So
Yeah, you nailed it. So it's a few things. So the walking is great for you cardiovascularly, but everyone, especially women, really need to do resistance training and some strength training for muscle mass and bone loading and bone mineral density. And that's what I love about the rucking. It gives you both of those. You're doing a cardiovascular exercise. You can do it outside, and you're getting some strength training. Like with that weight on your back, you're getting some on your shoulders, some in your back, the stabilizer muscles, and then the legs, obviously carrying that extra weight. So you're getting both strength training, increase when it comes to kind of bone loading to increase your bone mineral density, and preserving and building muscle. So you just get a really nice combination thing when you add the weight to the walk.
right, yes, yes, I love it. Yeah, so yeah, I got to start doing it. I haven't done it yet, mainly because my husband said it's going to mess up my knees. So that was a little negative input.
Well, it's an interesting thought and question. So when people are worried about knees, so running, if you're running, especially like downhill, the force multiplied on your knees is massive of your body weight. The actual adding weight to the backpack doesn't increase the impact on your knees very much at all. That increased weight doesn't. It's really the speed and kind of the turnover. So if you're worried about your knees, it's really more about speed than it is weight at all. I wouldn't be worried about your knees at all. In fact, it's going to strengthen your knees and make them kind of more bulletproof if you're able to do that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. So that's why I've hesitated that I haven't done it. But now I am definitely going to get me. I don't walk very fast at all. So, and that's one of the reasons he said it too. He thought it would increase my heart rate and, of course, build some muscle and things like that. So that's great. So yeah, let's talk about Wild Health now. So what do you guys offer there? I mean, um, uh, like I talk to the doctor, and I get these true diagnostic tests and a whole bunch of blood work. And I mean, when I go for my blood work, there's like 12 vials, and the guy says, "Oh my gosh, you taking all this blood?" So you do a lot of testing, which is great, and then you go over the testing, and kind of like you said, do a plan. And mine, like I said, mine was basically all about weight loss. So we had some tests that says that I was, in fact, my doctor at Wild Health was telling me to, because I was going down to like 1,800 calories, and he's saying, no, your test come back and says your weight, your calorie resistant. So the less calories that you take, your body thinks you're starving. So I need you to up your caloric intake. So things like that we've been focusing on. So talk about Wild Health and what you guys offer and then combining with the epigenetic testing.
Sure. So it Wild Health, what we do is we first collect an incredible amount of information. So your DNA, we sequence your DNA, all the blood tests, like you mentioned, phenotypic data about you, other information about you that we can't measure and test. And then we bring all of that together. We developed an AI platform that we spent probably $50 million developing to be able to take all these kind of the million data points and then come up with a plan and program of what we're going to do to optimize your health. What's the perfect diet? What supplements will or won't work? How to optimize your exercise, sleep. And so all of that data we use to inform that. And then the goal is to have you live as healthy and as long as possible and feel and perform as good as you can now. And so what we focus on tends to be a little bit of what you want to focus on, what's your goals, and then also what we find as the bigger risk factors. Like we may uncover things like for my mother, we uncovered that ApoE4 gene. So she did want to lose weight, but to me, the goal for her was optimizing her brain health so she doesn't get dementia. So we focused on kind of both of those goals at the same time for her. And then it's an iterative process. So everyone does all the testing and the big report. And then they also have a doctor and a health coach that they're meeting with frequently. And then once we come up with the plan and the goals, then we'll retest and then re-meet and then continue to iterate on that plan based on what someone needs at that time. So it's a relationship. It's a very data-driven, genomic-based program. There's a relationship component and working with someone over time to optimize.
Yes. So that's great. So let's get back to the supplements for a minute because we have some time. So on my report, you guys tested, like I said, a lot of supplements. Is there specific supplements that people should be taking to optimize their health? And I want to specifically talk about vitamin D3 because I was thinking there was something wrong with that report because I supplement the vitamin D3 and I walk an hour in the sunshine every day and it's telling me I'm low in my vitamin D3. So how much should you get of vitamin D3? Obviously, you need a lot of it. So talk about, the supplements.
Yeah. So what supplements are recommended? It's very personalized. So it depends on what you actually need. So a combination of genetics and blood work. So with vitamin D, for example, with vitamin D, there are certain genetic SNPs that make you more likely to need more vitamin D, and you may not process it well enough. But then we need to know what is your vitamin D level. And then we also need to know, like, are you in Florida in the summer or are you in Alaska in the winter, which is going to make a big difference. Now, for you specifically, also African Americans tend to have lower vitamin D levels. So you have higher melanin, which reduces kind of vitamin D synthesis. So it's not an uncommon. So just to give you an example, a Caucasian person may need to be about 15 minutes in the sun to get the same amount of vitamin D that an African American person would need to be in the sun for 30 to 45 minutes to get the same amount of vitamin D production. So that's probably why you're seeing in your report that even though you take a vitamin D supplement and you're in the sun, your vitamin D level tends to still be lower on the blood test, and so you may need to supplement with a little bit more. And traditionally, medicine is considered like less than 20 to be deficient, but really less than 30, you're still at pretty big risk. And to optimize someone, not just to make them not deficient, we want it to be about 50, over 50, which is not super easy for an African-American person to be above 50 just with sunshine and diet. It's kind of tough to get there. So that's probably what you're seeing in your report.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what is this thing saying? But again, I mean, I'm probably not supplementing properly because I do buy the drugstore brand, um, supplements, and you probably pee most of those out. So I probably have to get a higher quality of vitamin D3. So I probably do that. Yeah. So what are the second part of that question is, what are some of did you answer that by saying it depends on your blood tests, what vitamins you need, or there's no generic form of, you need omega-3s, you need this, you need vitamin D, you need what? So, no.
100%, because remember, as I said earlier, like 80% of your health outcome is dependent on you and the decisions you make and what you do. So to give you another example, a lot of people will say everyone supplement omega-3 and vitamin D, for example. But like for me, I have a genetic predisposition to need more omega-3, but I eat 2 cans of sardines every single day. Like that's my lunch every day. And my omega-3 levels are incredible. So like I don't need an omega-3 supplement. So I look at the blood levels and see. I also tend to exercise outside a lot. And I have fair skin, so I'm absorbing a lot. And I get a ton of vitamin D in those little sardines, like in all the organs. I eat a lot of other organ meats as well. And my vitamin D level is great. So I don't need it. So it's a very personalized thing we tend to find, and it changes over time. Someone's supplement needs may change based on their blood tests that we're doing. So every single supplement is very personalized. I mean, give another example. A lot of people are familiar with the MTHFR gene, this methylation gene, and a lot of times if people have this specific gene, someone will say, "Well, you need to supplement with B vitamins." Well, we look at your blood test for your homocysteine. If your homocysteine is fine, it means you're eating enough vitamin of the B vitamins, so we don't need to supplement with it. So, but most people with that gene, we will need to supplement. But again, it just depends on the entire whole picture of the person when it comes to supplements.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Right. Yeah. So again, I've got to talk to my doctor and see, make sense of the reporting. Um, yeah, I think I didn't know what that methylation thing was before I started working with your company. But yeah, I've got that methylation thing, and he did put me on some supplements um for that. I'm just taking regular um B complex vitamins now, but yes, yeah. So, all right, so that's amazing. So we've talked about, we've had a really good conversation about the differences, and for your health span and how wild health and true diagnostics are paired as far as a doctor and the tests and things like that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I would just say, so Wild Health is a very comprehensive program, but I think that if people kind of don't want to go that deep with technology and other things, I think there's some very basic things they can focus on. It's the things that we've talked about. And so, for example, you mentioned the kind of the true diagnostic test and the pace of aging test. If someone was just getting that true diagnostic test and optimizing their pace of aging over time and focusing on those basics of the relationship, sleep, exercise, food, they're going to get a long way themselves. So I don't. I always want someone to have a doctor and a health coach and someone great guiding them if they can, but I also want people to not be disempowered. I want them to know they can do a lot themselves by focusing on those basic ones and just getting some basic tests as well. So that would be the main thing I would say is um, really focusing on the basics is going to get you 90% of the way there when it comes to health span and health optimization.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But a lot of people don't, when I say a lot, most most of people do not focus on exercise and their stress and meditation and all these different things. I'm in this space, so I do it, but I know. I mean, I'm actually even very surprised that when I do go to the gym, I see all the which is the treadmills full. And I'm thinking, you guys live in Florida. Why are you in the gym walking on a treadmill? And things like that. I mean, and then, sleep. I think they said like 70% of the population, don't sleep well. So, I mean, I love talking about this stuff because I'm in the space, my personal mission is for a long health span and not just lifespans. That's what I do. And I know that is, you have a personal mission as well. And one of the questions I had here was, how does True Diagnostics offering and mission align with your personal values? So, as we end up, maybe you could talk about some of your personal values. You know, what are you passing on to your children, and why you choose to live in the woods, and why you choose to make, this your contribution to the universe?
Yeah. I mean, it really comes back to what we talked about before, and connection. For me, I think that's the most important thing. The connection to all of the things we mentioned, a higher power, a connection to ourselves, to our own body, to others, and to our family. And so True Diagnostic, the mission there is we do biologic age tests and pace of age testing. And the reason we do is because we want to empower people to know, like, what is their pace of aging so they can optimize it. The goal not being just to live a long time. The goal being to have as much time as possible to do the things you love with the people that you love. That's it. Like doing the things you love with the people you love, and that's why we have the test, to enable that and to be able to. I mean, what gets measured gets managed, and so by being able to measure it, you can really optimize it over time and just have more time with the people you care about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very good. Yeah, that's very good. Yes, we want to we want to be here. One of the meditations that I do, again, I'm in the awareness space, is that it says that, you know, we are going to die. It is our nature to die. We are going to get sick. It's our nature to get sick. So what it's saying is that be aware of it, bring it to your consciousness. But you want to prolong that as much as possible, the sickness, and you know, yeah. Being with your family. Part of that meditation is, when you die, you're gonna leave everything behind, your loved ones, all your wealth and all that. You can't take it with you. Just awareness, so that's all part of the
Yeah.
connection thing.
Well, I love that you mentioned the rain meditation. I'm a big fan of Tara Brach. She spoke at a conference I had a few years ago, and yeah, the recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture, like that meditation is really a great one when you're going through anything, especially anything difficult. So yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I haven't listened to her in a while, but there's a time that I was listening to her all the time. Yeah, she is actually awesome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I go most now for the vagus nerve and the body scan meditations kind of thing, because relaxation is the start of anything. Okay, so all right. So listen, I totally enjoyed our conversation, mainly because I am a client and I've used your services, and I know, how much what's doing for me in my life, to optimize it. So that's amazing. So tell our listeners how they can connect with Wild Health and True Diagnostics, and your website, and if you're on social media, what are your social media handles? And I know that you've got an email list that you send out really great information all the time, so you can talk about all that.
Yeah, so for Wild Health, it's just wildhealth.com, if you wanna learn more about potentially being a patient there. And then for True Diagnostic, for the True Age test, the biological age, test, that's truediagnostic.com, but it's TRUD without the E there. Um, the socials, I feel like I'm such an old man, I can never remember our social media handles. I'm personally not on, social media. It's been kind of a conscious choice, but the company's social medias are just at, um, I'll have to get those to you to put in the
All right.
that not good with social media at all. I'll mention
All right.
that. I feel like my goal is connection. I feel like social media doesn't always lend itself, to that per se, so.
Superficial connection. You're very right, which is basically what I said. You've got a million followers, but really two friends. It's not much. So okay, but yeah, I'll get it, and I'll link out to it in the show notes. Because and yeah, so when they sign up for your emails, they just go on Wild Health, and then sign up or something, and they'll get the emails.
Wildhealth.com, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. All right, Matthew. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. Again, I love your work. I love what you do. I love your mission. And I'm glad that I'm connected to your company. And what I came out from, one of my most aha moments is the connection is the biggest one in determining your health span. So yeah, I love that. All right, guys. Well, listen, I will have a summary of my conversation with Dr. Dawson on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to both of his websites as well as his social media handle, so you guys can follow along and sign up for emails and get some of this really important information. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate Dr. Dawson. And as we wrap up, any last words?
No, that's great. Thank you for having me on. It was really wonderful having this conversation.
Yes, same here too. All right. Well, listen, thanks very much for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind so you can transform your life. Today, we were talking about HealthSpan, epigenetics, and what you can do to optimize your life. So thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.